is such an amazing example of taking ideas, putting them into action, and keeping that heart behind it, and recognizing that it is through coming together that we can make things happen. As one of our speakers shared, there is no one organization or individual who can change the way we address poverty and food insecurity and health and youth and all of the things that we've talked about. It does take all of us coming together. So I'm just going to take a couple of moments before we move into our last portion of the day to share the voices that have been with us today. I really love one of the youth said, you may have caught this in the video. He said, all of the little systems overlap and affect each other. And I'm like, yes, they do. All of the little systems, big systems, all the systems, they impact one another. And I want you to take a look at the Jamboard that we have created today. You should see that here on your screen. Thank you to everyone who has been putting up your ideas and your actions. I've seen some of the notes that are being taken from the breakout sessions, and I want you to know that, as we said at the beginning, this is the beginning of a conversation and the beginning of some actions, continuation of others. So you will see here that we have lots of input around housing and poverty. We have this for each of the different slides. I encourage you to continue to put up your ideas and actions throughout our event. And if you save the link, you can even do it throughout the rest of the day. We will be taking this information, compiling it, and using that as we lead into our next steps. You'll see we have seniors and poverty, and then here, thinking in the same way as Patrick was sharing about compassion. So with the Greater High Point Food Alliance, we recognize that we are one part of a larger system. Much of our focus is around food, having a community that is food secure, and we know that that completely overlaps and interacts with all of these different issues. And so we ask that just like the singer that we heard, that you put your heart into this work, that you share what's happening in our community with other people, and that you share with others the themes that came up today. I'm sure you've thought of many on your own. What some of the things that I saw were this piece of collaboration, working together, making sure that there are many levels of work. Thanks to whoever put right here in the center of the board, challenge ourselves to move deeper into deeper stages of engagement. Thank you, Mr. Gomez, for highlighting that. How do we move? We do things like hand out food, and that's important, but how do we also continue to move into those additional stages to ensure that there is transition, not only for individuals, but for our systems? Thank you to everyone who has noted the importance of centering equity in our work and acknowledging that the experience in High Point is not the same for all people, that there are differences based on race, there are differences based on zip code, and we have to acknowledge this as we move forward to ensure that all of our citizens in High Point are able to strive and thrive, and in the greater High Point area. And so many themes, and it was captured here in the Jamboard around listening to the voices of folks in our community. A big thank you to the Food Alliance for having community conversations even prior to this summit, acknowledging that this is not the most accessible format for some folks to engage with this work. And so there were community listening sessions that happened, and we will share in the chat the summary of themes that came up in those sessions. And then here shortly, Carl will share some specifics about how you can continue to stay engaged with this conversation, some specifics of actions that the Food Alliance is planning to take next. And so we ask you to continue with us. Thank you for being here today. And then we ask that you stick with us and continue as we move into times of transition with our community. At this time, we are going to shift just a little bit into a celebratory mode. So I know that's a bit of a shift, so you can kind of, shake it out if you need to. But I have the great honor of turning the mic over to Jakki Davis. We saw her amazing students from D Up. Jakki was the previous board chair for the Greater High Point Food Alliance, and it was her wonderful idea to have a food summit around all of the interconnections of these issues. And Jakki today is going to announce some award winners. So Jakki, I turn it over to you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And this has been great. I think we've gone from just horrifying, data to charges, and we even went to church. But I have the pleasure of announcing our Food Security Award for 2022. And we do this, it's very exciting that we're able to do this. We know that everybody is doing such a great job in the community surrounding food security, but we want to make sure that we highlight some of those, and then we take nominations from our board members, and then we do a vote. And so this year we're celebrating 2 different awards. The first one is the Rooted in the Community Award. And this award goes to the organization or a nonprofit or a government agency or business that through their creative solutions that they develop an innovative way to food security, resulting in a sustainable community impact. And then the second award is our Food Security Advocate Award. This award is to the individual who has really been a leader in advocating for those that are struggling with food insecurity, and they also have been proactive in addressing food insecurity, and who has been a catalyst for change and sustainability. And of course, there are many, but today I get to announce those. So for the Rooted in the Community Award, everybody get ready. This award is going to the City of High Point Community and Neighborhood Development Division, Community Development and Housing Department. And I'm so excited. All right, Michelle McNair and her staff, they're always seeking ways to improve the neighborhoods about important issues that affect them. Food insecurity is one that is at the top of their list. They distribute resource guides from the Food Alliance to our neighborhoods. They hold neighborhood meetings where information is shared about food insecurity. They provide empty lots, which the city owns, and they put community gardens on them and create innovative, they also have created an innovative grant program where they provide soil and mulch from the Ingleside facility. They provide an office space for the Emcee extension agent so she can work closely with the school and neighborhood gardens in the area. So this is just a few ways that the Community and Neighborhood Development Department help in addressing food security. So if you would, everyone, in our virtual world, let's celebrate Michelle McNair and her staff as our 2022 Rooted in the Community Award. Way to go. All right, the next one, although he is not here with us, we have to recognize our food security advocate, Sherman Marshall. Sherman Marshall is not a household name, yet this 80 years old resident of the Burns Hills community has impacted us in the community by his continuous service to our food pantry and also to the garden. Without Sherman, our food pantry and garden would not be as high standards. And if you've ever seen that garden, you would know exactly the hard work that Sherman and the community does. They would not try to maintain it without him. At our food pantry, he unloads the trucks, stocks the produce, picks orders, makes boxes, cleans the pantry, and whatever else is needed to be done. Mr. Marshall has taken on the responsibility to nourish and cultivate it. He builds beds, plant crops, spreads dirt and mulch. Sherman is always willing to do whatever he is asked. He seeks no recognition for his efforts, but he has quietly labored out of the public eye to bring about something special to our community. So if we would, although he's not here, let's celebrate Sherman so that wherever he is, he can feel it. And we're just going to be excited to present the awards to these 2 outstanding organizations and individuals. So thank you all. Thank you.
So I get to close this out. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, the Foundation for Healthy High Points, Wells Fargo for working with Community Food Strategies, which has been amazing behind the scenes, and Resilience High Point. This has been a phenomenal day, and we appreciate your taking your time. We appreciate each of the speakers sharing their experiences and their expertise. I often tell people that I have the best job in the world, that I work with amazing people every day. To get to know a Jerry Mingo or a Mr. Marshall or a Jakki Davis or Joe Blosser. We're talking about real heroes when we talk about Patrick and all the people that you will never see working behind the screens, behind the scenes. This is truly an amazing community. But it's how we move forward. And we move forward by taking concrete steps. Action has always been a part of what the Food Alliance has been about. It's about moving forward. And so for next steps, we would like for you to share with others what you've learned today. What's a takeaway that you got out of this time together? The other really important thing is that we're going to bring people back together again. We're going to offer some more virtual summits or virtual convenings and working with Patrick and his group, that we can continue the conversation to actually develop action plans. We can only solve these issues as we work together. It's not about an individual organization, an individual. It's not about the government. It's about us. It's about our friends, about our neighbors. The greatest resource that we have in this community is each other. And working with each other, we can move things forward. We're going to share the information that we gather from the Jamboard and the chat. We're going to share it with community leaders. We're going to share it with elected officials and city staff for both High Point, Jamestown, Archdale, Trinity, and Guilford County, because we're all in this thing together. The one thing that I know working in this issue for a long, long time is whatever impacts one part of the region impacts the other part of the region. And so it's all about togetherness. It's about working together. So the other thing that we're going to do is use this information that we gather for our own strategic planning. What is it that we do as an organization going forward? And it's never been enough just to sit around. You know, I'm a doer. I want to get things done. And from the very beginning, that has been our mantra. But we do appreciate you. We love you. We see great things happening in this community. To see Jakki's kids over the years and all that they have done, I encourage you to take a look at the community conversations that we had in our neighborhoods. From the very beginning, one of our goals has been to engage community, to empower, to unify, and to sustain. But it requires people having a voice. It's asking someone their story. There are three things I always talk about, the three S's: the statistics, the story, and the solutions. Well, we know the stats. We know the stories. Now it's time to develop long-lasting, sustainable solutions. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to let the Reverend Dr. Joe Blosser, one of my great friends, close us out. And we're going to finish on time.
Keep you happy, Carl, keeping it on time. I'm so thankful for all of our speakers today who kept it on time. They squeezed a lot of information, a lot of statistics, a lot of stories into their allotted time frames, and we have a lot of solutions up on that Jamboard. I want to thank everybody for that collaboration. As I've been listening, that feeling of collaboration, these overlapping systems, why we have to be all engaged in this work together keeps coming to the forefront of my mind, and it reminds me of the words that Robin Wall Kimmerer wrote in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass. She writes about the ways in which pecan trees communicate with each other when it's time to fruit. And she writes this: if one tree fruits, they all fruit. There are no soloists in the forest. Not one tree in a grove, but the whole grove. Not one grove in the forest, but every grove. All across the country, all across the state. The trees act not as individuals, but somehow as collective. Exactly how they do this, we don't know. But what we see is the power of unity. What happens to one happens to all. We can starve together or feast together. All flourishing is mutual. And I feel like today we can take this wisdom from the trees, this indigenous wisdom about fruiting, and apply it to our very community. We feast together, we starve together, all flourishing is mutual. Thank you all for being here today to be part of this exercise in mutuality, part of this exercise in community building, because together we can empower, unify, and sustain. That is the heart of the Greater High Point Food Alliance. It will make High Point the most livable city in our nation if we can do it. And so, in the words of Patrick Harmon, Resilience High Point, I urge you to have compassion for one another and join together to do this work. Thank you all so much for being here today. Have a wonderful afternoon.